With us here today is the M2 iPad Air. We're going to talk about its new features, how it compares to the new M4 iPad Pro. We also have the Apple Pencil Pro. We'll be talking about its new features. And finally, can your iPad replace your laptop and what you need in order to do so? The iPad Pro gets the M4 chip, whereas the Air has the M2 chip. I personally haven't been able to use the full power of the M2 chip, mainly because as a student, the most I do is multitask, which I will talk about later on, and scroll through the web. And I think the M2 chip is just amazing for that. The iPad doesn't lag at all in these tasks. Even for high power tasks, for example, video editing and stuff, the M2 chip is just perfect. So I wouldn't recommend paying those extra $100 or so just for the M4 chip. Another feature in the iPad Air is that it now gets the 13-inch model compared to the 11-inch that it was restricted to. So before, if you wanted to get the 12.9-inch bigger iPad size, you would have to go over to the iPad Pro. But now we also get the 13-inch on the Air. Now for me, I would say that the 13-inch model is really worth it, just because you just get so much more space. So for me, one of the main features that I use is Stage Manager. So Stage Manager basically transforms your iPad into a laptop, in my opinion, mainly because you just get to multitask so much. Now this feature isn't available on the iPad 10 or 9 just because they don't have the chip processing power, or maybe it's just a feature that Apple is keeping for its higher end iPads. But for me, Stage Manager is just amazing because I'm able to multitask very easily. So this is something which works especially well with the 13-inch. So on the 13-inch iPad, I'm able to get so much out of 2 apps. And I'd never feel like I'm restricted for space, both height and lengthwise. So for example, here I have the 11-inch Huawei, and you can basically see the difference in terms of multitasking. So I would say that if you see yourself multitasking a lot with your iPad in the future, then I would definitely recommend the 13-inch over the 11-inch. This is the Apple Pencil Pro, and it has been released with a few new features. So to begin with, there's this hover feature. So whenever you hover over an icon, it kind of just has this really nice animation. Same thing applies to, let's say, any other buttons. The hover feature applies for when you're writing. So the moment your pencil gets close to the screen, this sort of hover feature enables, so you can kind of see where your pencil will start writing from. This is a very useful feature for artists because I think it just allows them to have pinpoint accuracy. There's a vibration motor inside the Apple Pencil, which means that you have double tap and squeeze features. So for squeeze, I've enabled it to be to show the color palette. However, you can customize this in the settings. So obviously, if you just go to the Apple Pencil section, you have squeeze and double tap, and you can also enable hover and tool preview. So you can use all of these. So for example, when you go on squeeze, you get a sensitivity bar and also many functions that you would like it to do. For example, if I would like it to show ink attributes, so let's say when I'm writing and I want to change the thickness of the pen, I could just squeeze and it will show me all of those. For double tap, I've enabled it to switch between my current tool and the eraser, so you just double tap and erase. And I think this is just much easier for you, so you don't have to physically go to the top of the screen, which is something which I found quite annoying before, but it wasn't a huge deal, and it is something which you could deal with on the previous Apple Pencil models. If I had to describe this pencil overall, I would say that it doesn't improve your productivity by a huge margin, but I would say that it enhances your user experience and just makes the Apple Pencil more interactive. Another difference between the Pro and the Air is the refresh rate. Now, if you don't know what the refresh rate is, it's basically how fast and smooth the animations are on this screen. So the iPad Air still has the 60 Hz display, whereas the Pro gets the 120 Hz one. Now, for me, I have used the 120 Hz on different devices, for example, the Huawei tablet or on my daily use phone. So I do feel a slight difference when using the iPad Air. If you've never used a 120 Hz display before, you won't feel the difference, and the iPad Air is perfect for you. Now, both the iPads do get a adaptive refresh rate, which means that the iPad automatically can increase or decrease your refresh rate based on the how fast you're using your screen. So right now my screen is still, so it can drop down to almost 10 hertz, which saves battery. But then the moment I start using the iPad again, it bumps up to the 60 hertz refresh rate. So that feature is on both iPads, the Air and the Pro. So the iPad Pro comes with this new Nano-texture display option. You have to pay an extra $100 for it. If you see yourself using your iPad in the sun quite a lot and quite often, I would recommend you trying this out in the stores. It slightly improves the feel of your hands on the actual screen. It doesn't really help your handwriting that much. And the main downside is you're not able to put a screen protector, so your Nano-texture display is much more likely to get scratched or cracked. So that is something to keep in mind when choosing between the Air and the Pro. So the iPad Air gets the liquid retina display, whereas the Pro has the new OLED one. So if you put them side by side, you will see a difference. So the Pro will have a higher contrast, the blacks will be more darker, so it does improve the picture quality a lot. However, I would say for most people the iPad Air is just enough for in terms of browsing the web, studying, Google Docs, note taking. You won't see a difference at all. However, if you see yourself watching many movies and HDR content, then I would say that the Pro's OLED display would be helpful for you in that use case scenario. Both the iPad Pro and the Air now have their cameras in the top middle of the screen, which means if you're doing Zoom meetings and your iPad is in horizontal mode, you will be at the center of the frame, which I think is much better than being slightly to the side, like on the previous iPad cameras. Also, there's center stage, so you're always in the center of the screen. So I think that is a small touch which Apple has added, and it's definitely useful for those of you who will be doing a lot of Zoom meetings or FaceTimes. So Apple had made the iPad Pro extremely thin, around 5.1 millimeters or something. Now, for me, this isn't really a huge noticeable difference. Just to put it in context, this is the iPad Air, and this is the Apple Pencil. So you can see that the Apple Pencil is actually thicker than the iPad slightly. And for me, the iPad Air is incredibly thin, so I wouldn't really say that the thinness of the Pro makes a huge difference. It is slightly lighter, so if you are planning to pair this with the Magic Keyboard, then you will feel a slight difference in terms of weight on your back when you put the iPad in your backpack. Over the years, there have been countless debates upon whether the iPad can replace your computer, but I think all the videos don't talk about one main thing, which is that if you want to even consider replacing your laptop, you need to buy the Apple Magic Keyboard. So this is the white color. It obviously has the 3 magnets in it, and it's really nice soft material. So your iPad will just snap onto the back and you're good to go. So there is no Bluetooth connectivity compared to maybe the Logitech Folio. The keys are really amazing. The keyboard's really amazing. I like the keys more than the MacBook personally. That's my opinion. Mainly because they have a really good key travel, whereas the MacBook's keyboard is kind of flushed in, so you don't actually have a really good typing experience. The trackpad isn't huge compared to the MacBooks, which is like almost double the size, if not 3 times. It is pretty much enough for an iPad and the iPad use. The fact that you are getting a trackpad with your iPad is a big deal, so I wouldn't really complain too much. But I just wanted to share a few tips and tricks. So if you actually go to your settings, if you go to general, there's an option for trackpad. Here you actually get a few customization options. So you have the tracking speed, natural scrolling, tap to click, two finger also. So tracking speed is quite important. I think it kind of determines how fast or slow your trackpad will move, and I put it on the maximum, but it really depends on your speed. If you go to accessibility, you get a customization option in pointer control. So here you have increased contrast, pointer size, pointer animations, scrolling speed. So there are many customizations for the trackpad, just like the Apple Pencil, which I think is a really good thing for users. There will be some people who will mess around with these functions a lot, while others will just use the default settings. It's all just up to your own personal preference. In terms of the white color, it's held up pretty well over the past couple of months. So there used to be this big blue stain over here and also around these crevices, but I was able to remove them with alcohol wipes and sanitizer. So while it will catch stains naturally due to its lighter color, they are mostly quite easy to remove. The reason I got the white keyboard is, I mean, it does look better for me because I just think that all my devices are dark colors. But the black keyboard gets smudges very easily. Now, while you might expect the white one to get dirty over time, the black keyboard does catch on smudges a lot. So if you have sweaty hands or anything or oily fingers, you will be able to see those smudges on the black keyboard, but you won't on the white. So I think for day-to-day use, for those of you who care a lot about how clean their iPad is, then I would say that the white keyboard is better because you won't see any of those smudges. Overall, I would say that the M2 iPad Air is the most cost-effective iPad just because of its new 13-inch size option. It also allows you to have all the accessories that the Pro would have, so the Apple Pencil Pro and the first gen Magic Keyboard. I would recommend this iPad to all students and anyone who just wants that laptop experience. Personally, it is better than a MacBook in some ways, especially for those of you who will do a lot of note taking.